Hello again, students. This is Sister Mills. I'm making this screencast so that I can give you some tips on how to complete the critical thinking essay for our English 106 course. In this screencast, I am just going to show you a few or remind you a few of the assignment requirements, as well as go over the rubric and show you some examples from some of my previous students. And so I'll try and make this short and sweet. This is going to be similar to the past videos that I've made going over writing assignments. So hopefully you're finding these helpful. And if you have any questions by the end of this, please be sure and send them over to me. So here I am. I'm just in the content tab. I went to lesson 6 to the writing assignment first draft in lesson 6. This is the first time that you are working on this critical thinking essay. Um, So this essay is a little bit different. The other two essays, you've you've pretty much had free reign. Whatever you chose for your topic was what you were writing about. But in this one, it's a little bit different. You have 5 different options here, and they're all listed here of questions that they don't necessarily have a right or wrong answer, but you are to respond. You are to write this essay describing your opinion or your belief in regards to these questions. So choose one of these questions, and then your response to that is going to be your essay. And like I said, they don't have right or wrong answers. For each of these prompts, I've had students write for them or against them, one side of the argument or the other side of the argument. So you write what you believe and what you feel, and best describe how you feel about it. So that's how you're going to get started, and you can read through these. And typically, I suggest to students whichever one you have the most interest in, or whichever one immediately kind of captures your attention, maybe go for that one. Or, the top two, kind of narrow it down and figure out which two you like the best, and then kind of brainstorm what ideas you have for both of them. And then I think you'll be able to identify which one that you'd rather do. Often, if we like what we're writing about, that makes it easier to write and finish the essay and really put forth effort to make it a good one. So that's my advice for you there. So on this assignment page, here is the rubric, and you have access to that anytime. But I also wanted to go over these requirements here, and these are actually the same as the past 2 assignments. So the length should be 1 to 2 pages, not over 2 pages, not under 1. Okay, it should be double spaced. It should be Times New Roman, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, not triple spaced. Paragraphs should be indented, and it should have a title. And try to be thinking of fun, catchy titles that go along with your message in the essay. When I open up a student essay and the title is critical thinking essay, I'm already kind of bored, right? So come up with something that really makes your readers want to learn more about your essay and read more. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but just something different would be awesome. Here is the rubric. I'm just going to go over a few of these components for you. This first section, the first paragraph clearly states the problem the writer is addressing and the answer to the problem, which is the thesis that the writer proposes. Okay, now this essay is going to be diving a little deeper, okay? We're going to be pushing you a little bit more for as far as organization goes and as far as a thesis goes. So we haven't had much training about theses yet in this course, and so I'm hoping that I can send you guys some help. We have a thesis generator as well as a thesis checklist that I'm going to make available to you, and those are good ways to make sure you have a good solid thesis for this essay. So this section of the rubric really is focused on that first paragraph. Okay, we need a little bit of background information. We need it to lead into your topic, and then we need that solid thesis that basically is the answer to your question, to the question prompt. This second section, the writer clearly supports his or her thesis through logic, experience, examples, or research. The writer focuses on unity, focus, transition, and coherence, acknowledges and refutes opposing viewpoint. If you use the words or works of others to support your position, use the direction given by your instructor to give proper credit to those outside sources. In regards to this last part in parentheses, do the best you can. Okay, if you've quoted somebody or used some information from some source, a book or internet site or a newspaper article or something, be sure to include that. Okay, for right now, I'm fine as long as you just include the author, the title, maybe a date. Okay, but that all doesn't have to be in there. Just do the best you can so that if I was reading your essay and I got to that part where you quoted somebody, as long as I could go out and look that up, just do a Google search, I could find that article or that book. And so I hope that makes sense. Be sure to cite your sources, okay? I'm not going to be a stickler about the citations, but I am going to be a stickler about plagiarism, okay? Plagiarism is never acceptable. So if you do use outside sources, be sure to make sure the reader knows that that's from somebody else, that's not from you. Other parts in this section that students tend to struggle with are the transition. Sometimes students have a really hard time transitioning from one topic to the next or from one part of the topic to the next part to the next paragraph. Be sure to use transitions in between there so that as a reader, if I feel like I've started reading another essay in the middle of your essay, then that definitely needs a transition. And if I can't see how one part of it connects to the next, then I'm going to tell you to add a transition in there. Um, so hopefully that helps, get your mind rolling and help you pay attention to that a little bit more. And then the other part that students tend to struggle with are this: acknowledges and refutes an opposing viewpoint. Okay, your viewpoint is going to be your thesis. It's going to be your focus in the essay. But in order to strengthen your argument, if you take a look at the other side of the argument and take one of their strongest arguments, what is your reader going to be thinking in their mind that might be an opposing viewpoint? And include that in your essay, but also refute that argument, okay? Which means you've acknowledged the opposing viewpoint, and then you've explained why that isn't relevant or how it connects to and actually could support your argument. So think about this strategically and think about how you can use that opposing viewpoint. This next section is about the conclusion, okay? The writer ends on a strong note, reinforcing his or her thesis and indicating the larger significance of the issue. Okay, a lot of students forget to reinforce their thesis, okay? An essay like this is kind of like a hamburger, right? You give some background and you give your thesis in the beginning. You have the supporting examples and details in the body paragraphs. And then that conclusion is kind of like the bottom bun of a hamburger, okay? It needs to reinforce that thesis and it shouldn't include any new details, but it should really, really push that thesis even further. And it's like, I really appreciate when students, it's like at the end of the essay when they kind of zoom out on the issue and they kind of give us a wider view of why this is important or why their opinion or their viewpoint is right or good. And so go ahead and do that. This last section is the same as it has been before. It's dealing with length, it's dealing with MLA, with formatting, with editing, okay? And I've mentioned this before, but I'll just remind you that for every 3 errors in your essay, I take off 1 point in this section. But for formatting things and MLA, I tend to do 1 point per formatting issue. And so I'm a little bit stricter on that because by now you should really be getting that heading, be getting a title, be formatting your paragraphs correctly. Those are really basic things that are really easy to do, to fix. So pay attention to those. There's a couple student examples here, but I wanted to show you a couple of my students that I've had, their examples, and I will go ahead and attach these as well so you can read them as well. It's just really interesting because both of these are quite short. This one is 2 pages, almost 2 pages, and this one is 1 page. And he did an excellent job. This, you can see this right here. It's like a hamburger, right? This top bun has this really powerful thesis, And this is a great example of a thesis that is more than one sentence long. I prefer or I suggest that you try to keep it within one sentence, but if it goes on to, two or three sentences, that's okay. So this is the top bun. Then he's got the meat of his essay, all of his supporting examples here, and then the conclusion, which also reiterates that thesis. And then this is an example of a student who kind of zoomed out and helped to leave the readers with like a lasting message or a lasting impact, and I really liked that about that. Now the hamburger is a little bit harder to identify in this one because it's a little longer, but we have this top bun here. With a great opening paragraph, great thesis, clear thesis. She includes scriptures, which is a bonus, which is awesome. And remember that your audience is pathway students and pathway instructors. So we appreciate scriptures. We appreciate conference talks and things like that, or messages from those conference talks. So pay attention to your audience and see if there's ways you can tie it into religion or our kind of our Mormon culture, I guess you could say. And then down here, so in all these body paragraphs, we have great examples of why her thesis is good. And then we have this bottom bun, which reiterates the thesis and really zooms out and leaves them a lasting message here. I just wanted to point out that none of these essays, the samples that I provide for you, none of them are perfect, okay? I really liked you guys to see, things they could have done better as well as things they're doing well. And these are two examples that both have, positive and constructive criticism feedback for them. So pay attention to that and know that these are real people, these are real students I just had last semester. And so they worked really hard and I hope you'll appreciate their essays like I did. If you have any questions about the requirements for this essay, whether it's the rubric, the questions, the formatting, or anything like that, please be sure and ask. Once again, we have this envelope up here that's an instant messaging. You can send messages to me that way. If you click on the content tab here, you can access my information, my email, as well as my Zoom classroom and my phone number. So here is all of that in case you need it. And I hope you enjoy this essay. This is a really fun one, and happy writing!